Greetings, everyone. It's Monday, and you know exactly what that means. It is time for another week of the best league racing show in the universe. Welcome back to the Blackout Racing League. It's week 8 of this bonanza, and we are heading... It's the triple threat this week, ladies and gentlemen. You are not ready. As is illustrated by the calendar. Look at this. 18th of November, obviously. And today, we have Monaco, Monza, and Australia. It's going to be chaotic and catastrophic for a lot of people, but it may also be crucial in a lot of people's championship chase. Last time out, we were in Baku, which, if you haven't watched, I give you a few seconds to go and watch it right now. Okay, now that you've caught up with the Blackout Bonanza at Baku, Thanasi won. Thanasi won the race. His first race win since week 1. He got 2 race wins on the bounce in Austria and Singapore in the very first week, and he's managed to get his 3rd win of the season. Only just here in Baku. It's taken him that long. So there is hope for everybody else. However, Monaco is in the F2 cars. So perhaps the hope is slightly eroded, but we will find out as this week transpires. Monza, of course, the Temple of Speed. Almost no more of an historic venue, although we are heading to the jewel of the F1 calendar first. So who will crown themselves and adorn themselves in gemstones and jewels alike? We shall find out. And Australia, well, they'll be lucky if there isn't a mad rush of blood to their head. Mostly because they are upside down, but also because many a time in Australia, things have gone a bit upside down for a lot of people. Like me in Season 15. But we won't talk about that. Instead, look at these lovely graphics. Look at that specimen. That right there. I don't know about you, but I would go to dinner with that being. That right there is a graphic made by my darling husband, Magico. Go and follow him. He's RD Magico. And then I'll report you for stalking him. But go and follow him on Twitch anyway if you want to. I won't hold it against you. Mostly. But we have some big news. And that big news is there are 17 of the best, the finest Blackout racers ready and waiting for this week. There were only 2 that said they couldn't take up the gauntlet. But there is a plethora of panache and pace up and down the field. And I, for one, cannot wait to see what chaos it brings. Of course, like I said, starting in the Formula 2 cars at the Principality, the Monaco Grand Prix, it will just be a one-shot qualifying and a 15-lap feature race, which we are getting to very, very soon. We have Buck 20 and Milo in the Invicta cars. Of course, teams remain the same. However, well, teammates remain the same. However, of course, F2 teams are slightly different. Timbo and Magico in the high-tech. We've got Thanasi in the dams, Buck 57 in the dams. All of that we shall go over with a fine-tooth comb. But now, it's time to quench the qualifying thirst in some sensational style as we head over to the ever-lucrative, the fancy, dripping in finesse and also financial ruin. It's Monaco, ladies and gentlemen. The twisting and turning streets of the Principality. Lots of flags looking quite limp. At least the Pirelli badge is looking a little bit better for itself. And also an unethical sponsor. Qualifying, of course, one shot. They'll all be one shot today. I don't think, if memory serves me correctly, there will even be a short qualifying session. They only have one chance to not balls up track limits, to not send it into barrier. It is balls to the wall here in Monaco as we get on the way for the first qualifying session of the day. Tim Alele, we're riding on board with us through turn number 1 we go, and we shall head over to a track map to make sure they don't smite themselves out of the session. Up the hill we go towards Casino Square, later Apex, carry the momentum through and then flick it in close as you dare towards the right-hand side before entering into Mirabeau. So easy to lock up into the right-hander. You have to use the camber so sparingly, but then it's the Tesco car park, the Lowe's hairpin. At least the F2 cars are slightly smaller, so it spares their blushes. Then in towards Portier. Late apex again and slightly squirmish on the way out from Timalele. He's got Thanasi for company. Nay, Thanasi's thwarted Timalele for a provisional pole as we head out into the scorching sunlight and then the Novel chicane. Dicing with death with the barriers as close as you dare to do. Millimetric mistakes mean absolutely monumental consequences for Thanasi skating through the swimming pool chicane with ease and with poise. Then bouncing over the second chicane as Buck 20's crashed out. No! Anyway, through Raskas and Thanasi has a little wobble. It's not done yet as we head out of Anthony Nogues. Foot to the floor, but it will be pole position for Thanasi, and it wasn't even close. It was not even close. Good grief. A 1:18.3. No one even in range. Thanasi in a continent of his own in pole position. 0.8 of a second separates himself and his next closest competitor, which is Pathiman in the ART. Very impressive, sir. Timalele P3 with Terziak joining him on the second row. Milo lines up first on row 3 with Wilco in 6th. Big Sam in 7th. Magico in 8th. Slam 9th. Vulcan 10th. The Irish Connection 9th and 10th. With Dirkleton, the Cartel could only manage 11th. With people who didn't set times, the Bucks, Stark, Jamie Tarquin, Tyrrell in 16th, and Maximus Plum last in the MP Motorsport car. And now we're going to take a quick nap. Hey! Wake up, you lot! It's rain day! And it is actually rain day. It is slightly spittling here in the streets of Monte Carlo. And that really puts a spanner in the works. You've got all the confidence. You've just garnered it up in the dry. Nay, that snowball of confidence has been melted by rain. And now you have to build it up in a wholly different way. The rain can, of course, be a slightly narrowing factor. It can actually bring the pack closer together. Much easier to make mistakes. Much easier to get on the loud pedal a little bit too soon. And that can make all the difference. But we have 17 of the finest. No dawdling here. 5 red lights in the Principality. Lights out and away we go. And let's see if they can all get away without squirming around too much. The Nassi's practically dropped anchor at the start. Milo's in first and oh no. Well, we can see there's been some kind of absolute palaver. Well, Magico's had a big issue. He's gone round. I saw the high-tech go. And once again, we have to wait and see if F124 actually wants to sort itself on my screen. At the moment, Milo's in third, but Thanasi got the perfect start. It's Timalele in P2, has jumped Pathiman at the start, who he is in actually P3. Once they sort themselves out, and luckily, it does sort themselves out. And now, we can go through it all in the correct order. Thanasi leads then. Timalele in P2. The gap's already opening out. Terziak's had a torrid start. He's down to P11 in the Trident car. And he's about to have the scepter swung through his soul as Maximus tries to nick P11 away from him. As they enter the tunnel for the first time. And it's Jamie Tarquin getting very trigger-happy on the throttle pedal. The VAR cars, well, I would say they know where the line is. But I guess they have no choice with all the barriers around. And, well, maybe Jamie Tarquin didn't get the memo because he's got front wing damage. It's a disaster at the start of the Monaco Grand Prix. But back to the action. Mr. Milo in P... Maximus... Oh, no. Maximus has already left. It's a bad start. And there's blue flags waving. That's not a good sign. Through the final corner goes Thanasi. He's got a 2.5 second gap. Right, that's it. Call it a day. He's won. Well done, everyone. Only joking, there's still plenty of laps to go. Up the hill goes our race leader then. The main man piling on the pressure would be Mr. Wilco, but Vulcan's gone down the inside of Tyrrell, taken P7 in the Campos car, albeit he does have a 10-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags. Which, to be fair, I do feel is a little bit harsh, given how proceedings looked on my screen. But anyway, glossing over that, it's catastrophe for the Campos man. Vulcan, though, currently comfortably in P7. Holding track position, and that's all he needs to do. Maximus has left the session again. He's given up before it's even started here in Monaco. As Thanasi's opened up a second in the first sector. He's absolutely flying in the wet conditions. Absolutely loves... Oh my God almighty! was Tyrrell again getting very happy on the throttle pedal. The rear end kicking out in discomfort as my voice breaks the sound barrier. But towards the Novell chicane, defending the inside, he probably has to because Stog is darting underneath his diffuser, trying to open up an avenue to just breeze through in the Prema car, but no avenue will present itself for the time being. Into the swimming pool. Why have they not covered their swimming pool? Are they senile? Jeez, I don't know, honestly. They have too much money. That's what I'll attribute to. Jamie Tarquin's already got a 3-second time penalty. I believe he's already pit onto new top. Pathyman takes the fault. Hello. Pathyman's beginning to cook. Timalele perhaps not acclimatized to the conditions as much as the ART man behind him. Wilco also, keeping him honest, does have a penalty next to his name, but remaining in close quarters combat nonetheless. Already a fifth of the way through this race. We are approaching at a rapid rate of knots as Maximus is out of the Monaco Grand Prix. He's left the session. And it's a devastating start for the MP Motorsport man. There's no words of consolation that can be provided. He parks up on the exit of Mirabeau. There will not be a safety car, but by the time Maximus rejoins, well, he's out. He's out of this Monaco contest. And they say sometimes pressure makes diamonds, but Maximus, he's only getting coal for Christmas. Towards the end of lap number 3 we go. Thanasi has a 5.5 second gap. I can also never tell when the track limits decide it's a corner cut and when they... Oh, God! Buck 57's had a big problem as he approaches Portier. He's got front wing damage. Manages to reset himself with no extra qualms to his account. But he has been overtaken by Jamie Tarquin. Also more to the... Well, Thanasi's his teammate. It's a tale of very contrasting fortunes. One side of the pendulum, you have Thanasi in a world of his own. And the other side of things is Buck 57... who, well, wishes he had the grip of a salmon in these conditions because it's not gone his way whatsoever. Wilco still in hot pursuit of the French connection up ahead. Got Buck 20 also keeping a close eye on Terziak and car up ahead as the Trident man looks to the inside. Contact with the MP Motorsport. More contact! And Terziak sent into the wall. And Buck 20, the innocent party, had nowhere to go. Terziak left stranded on the inside. Does he not have damage? No way. You are kidding. Well, at least on an external perspective, Terziak somehow doesn't have damage. But it is devastation stations. A Slam lives up to his namesake. Shows Terziak barrier. Remains in P10, but at what cost? Because Buck 20 has got front wing damage. And now has even more to do in this race for Invicta. Jamie Tarquin with another 3-second time penalty, by the way. To say it's not going great would be a slightly underselling the point. But where it is sprucing up a little bit as we exit the Raskas corner is Pathyman is closing in very quickly and very comfortably to the back of the high-tech car of championship leader Timalele. Entering a third of the way through this. I mean, you'll be hard-pressed to find anyone who can keep up with Thanasi's pace. Pathyman has shown he's got flashes of pace in that car, but he has to clear the high-tech man ahead. And it's very, very easy when you're following another car to start following their lines. Because it's just somewhat instinctive up to a point, but you've got to not get in the habit. You've got to carve out your own track. You know that you've caught up using the lines you have up to that set. And now it's your opportunity to utilize those racing lines. All of the racecraft that you have honed in at the start of this one. And just hunker into the slipstream. Force your feint to the inside occasionally, although a slide out of Portier, as cool as it is, probably isn't part of the game plan. But feint to the inside a little bit. Just throw your opponent off kilter, make them make a mistake, possibly get some penalties next to their name, and then maybe the all-important big mistake. And it can just allow you an easy little overtake. But you got to execute it quickly and professionally as Wilco starts darting out from under the slipstream. He's paying close attention to my words of wisdom. Milo is catching up to both of these guys, though, so the more time as he definitely doesn't cut the swimming pool chicane. More to the point, though, the more that these guys fight and try and find a way past Timolele, Stanasi is just eating up the miles. He's got absolutely no pressure behind. In fact, the only drives... DRS enabled! Now, that's very interesting. Still some slight spits of rain, but Buck 57 might have just done a strategic masterstroke on the soft tyres, albeit with DRS... Well, when it was DRS enabled on the last game, it absolutely meant get on the soft tyres or your race is run. But everyone else has the opportunity now to try and follow suit, as Buck 57 really struggling on the dry tyres. We have Magico up into P5, as we do have some pit lane purchases. Start going for the DLC of the super soft tyres. Buck 20 on the softs. A relatively even, I say even, it's it's a 2 to 4 split. Who cares? The point is, there is a relatively even split-ish of soft to super soft runners that have just pitted in. And so, it will be time to find out just what implications this will have on the rest of this race. Watching Stark's time in particular as the first man on the road, on the ultra softs, and that's all a hair's breadth away from wreaking havoc on his own race. Almost completely combusted into the wall at Mirabeau. Slamimos going for overtakes. Buck 20's overtaken him, whether it's in the pit stops or on the track. Doesn't really matter. Slam wants to reimburse that position, feinting to the inside of Portier to try and make Buck 20 make a mistake, and he has actually clipped the wall on the outside, but no ERS games or other strategic plays to be had as they exit the tunnel to the Novell chicane. Buck 57, meanwhile, slowing to a standstill, well, practically. I don't even know what words are. Timolele has entered the pit lane, by the way. He's gone onto the ultra-soft tyres. Stark has caught up Magico ahead by 2 seconds on this lap. So perhaps it really is time for the dry tyres, although Magico staying out might be a strategic play for Timbo's sake. You never know, just to make sure nobody else can put him under pressure. Because look at this, he's managed to block the mighty Milo. I do apologise, guys, by the way, if I do sound muted. That's because I am. I really am muted. My voice has seen better days, and it's still not completely healed. And I don't really know how. It's been almost a month since I got a cold. I think I've had like 3 colds in a row. And so I'm taking it as easy as I can, so I'm sorry in advance. But now we shall see, and probably the exacerbation of just how powerful the dry tyres are becoming, as Timolele on the softer compounder tyres begins to reel in Vulcan. Not by much, but it is a little bit nonetheless. And Milo not exactly making inroads on Magico. Thanasi, the race leader, pulls the trigger. Pulls the pit lane trigger, and it's time to go on to some, I expect, super soft tyres, as my controller has an aneurysm. But onto the super softs goes our race leader. Pathiman follows suit. I expect Big Sam and Vulcan and probably Magico to do exactly the same. And so they should, because out of the pit lane comes Thanasi. He's not the one to really worry about in the grand scheme of things. It's up to Pathiman to see if he can overcut Timbo, and the answer is absolutely not. Through goes the high-tech car, and the ART does have younger tyres, but they are a compound harder. So he's got to hope that there is some slight crossover, and then we shall see what unravels. As Stark takes the fastest lap, if there was ever an indication you needed that it's time for the dry tyres, that'd probably be it. Just over halfway through the Monaco Grand Prix, Thanasi, your race leader, just came into the pits. Had a gap of about 10 seconds, has gone down slightly, but it is all up to the tyre warm-up phase, fundamentally. He's got to bring them into the window. Timolele, of course, has had a single lap to get them into said window. And so he's just able to find a bit more purchase for the time being. However, Thanasi's now got them up to temperature, gained about half a second through the Novell chicane, although only briefly, because the exit again, 3-second penalty. Naughty Thanasi. Oh dear. I'm saying that as if I never got a 3-second penalty. Across the line goes Thanasi. He's got a 7.6 second gap. And as long as he keeps it like that, he will be this race's winner. As Terziak gets a 3-second time penalty. Here's what the penalty situ looks like, by the way, as Timalele swiftly takes the fastest lap, a 1:25.6. Of course, in qualifying, we saw times going down to the 1:18s. So about the 1:22s, maybe 21s, is about where we expect the pace to cap off. As the track just begins to ramp up, get better and better. More and more purchase to find with every turn of the wheel and every millimetric piece of distance covered. As the tyres bite into the bitumen even more beautifully than last time. Timalele inducing copious amounts of understeer through the low hairpin. Which if it works, but it's certainly not going to do your tyres any good. As Jambil Tarquin takes the fastest lap, now approaching the 1:24 barrier. As Milo, actually, I haven't mentioned it, he's got ahead of Wilco in all of this. So the undercut, I'm pretty certain it's... No, it isn't the undercut. They pit at the same time, but Milo emerges ahead, unless Wilco made a mistake before the pit stops. He's definitely made a mistake there, though. Straight across the chicane goes the Prema driver, finding absolutely no morsel of temperature in the soft tyres, should I say. And that has completely capitulated what's been a great effort. Speaking of great effort, it's now 1:23s. And the penalty situation doesn't matter. It does not matter because, well, Timalele has also got a 3-second time penalty. Dearie me. Well, Milo had one Prema behind him to contend with. Now he's got the other one. Stark on the super soft compound tyres, I beg your pardon. Milo on the softs. Still some decent purchase in the super softs. Stark's got to use them while he still has the upper hand. But you know how notoriously difficult it is to overtake at Monaco. You know how much of a procession it can turn out to be. In fact, it normally always turns out to be. But it's F2, so anything can happen. Out of Portier they go then, into the tunnel. Sample the noise. My volume is a bit quiet, I do apologise. Out of the tunnel they go. Slam hard on the anchors at the Novo chicane. And then bite into the bitumen with the Pirellis. As long as the super softs aren't screaming for resuscitation, Stark will continue to pile and pile the pressure on the Invicta car up ahead. Milo donning Gabriel Bortoletto's car as there's slight contact for the Prema driver. And you got Tyrrell trying to go down the inside very opportunistically. Well, the opportunism overlord gave it everything, but Stark had it covered in the end. But that was almightily close to being a sensational pass from the ART driver. ART, by the way, 3rd and 6th. Great race from them, and it looks like it could get even better, because as long as they don't get penalties, as Vulcan gets yet another penalty, and Slam's had a big problem. He's parked it up at the Raskas, sorry. It's an Austin Powers situation for a brief moment, but he enters the pit lane. And could it be 2 MPs out of this race? Which, given the political standing of the United Kingdom, would be rather ironic. Front wing change for Slam then. He could just go out there and cause chaos if he wanted to. As his car becomes... Well, his front wing looks slightly transparent there. And the... I do see a problem, Slam. MP, I realise why your pit stops are taking so long. And why your front wings are probably braking more than they should. Your front jack literally phased through his front nose. What more did you expect? Up at the front, Thanasi. It was a 1:21 on the last lap. It's a 1:20.8 on this lap. So the track's ramping up even more than I expected it to. Throw my prediction out of the window. To the outside of Raskas this time, Stark darts out, but it gives Tyrrell the chance to potentially go for the switchback. DRS open, though, for the Prema driver. On board with Stark. Could he dare to go for a move into the first turn? The answer is absolutely not, but a good exit is all that he needs. Slipstream all the way up the hill. Of course, default setups, I assume they've all gone for maximum downforce on their wagons. But still, not enough slipstream suckage to properly pay off dividends for Stark in the Prema car. Wilco, by the way, has got past Tyrrell in all of that. So Prema continue to ascend, but not for long. Tyrrell tries to go through. A slam has crashed at an Oval chicane. I can't really see what's happened. Oh my God. He's really crashed at an Oval chicane. Timoleile had to do some Houdini act to get around him. But that's lost even more time to Thanasi up in front. And by the time Pathiman arrives at the danger area, the danger is all but cleared. And so he gains 2 seconds on Timoleile. Just add a little bit more spice to the concoction. 3 tours of Monaco to go. Thanasi, your race leader. Timoleile in P2, 10.5 seconds is the gap though. Answers on a postcard because, well, the amount of delivery time for that is about the amount of time between the dams and the high-tech car. Pathiman in a lonely but comfortable P3, and Stark's probably got the opportunity he needs. A good exit again out of the first corner, but Milo has it covered all the while. And has enough pace in the Invicta cars. Terziak now takes the fastest lap of this feature race. A 20.8 as the soft tyres now potentially beginning to cross over. Stark very late on the brakes. Good grief. Down the inside of the Lowe's hairpin behind. Lunges Tyrrell, recoiled and ready to strike, but ultimately Wilco dealt with the Python. That was pure Tyrrell, managing to hold on to P6. But it's okay in the land of pure Tyrrell because he does not have a 3-second time penalty, which means come the end of this race, he will ascend further up the pecking order. Wilco actually has 6 seconds worth of penalties. Good grief. Wilco could do his teammate a massive solid here. Just hold up Tyrrell a little bit. Stark, my driver of the day personally from Baku last time out, had absolutely phenomenal pace the whole way through. Even with a front wing change, could have fought for the win had it not been for a time penalty. Wilco looking to fight his teammate though. I know they're not exactly the greatest exhibition of what teammates are all about, but it opens up the door for the ART driver. Weaves one way and then the other way, but all Wilco has to do is park it in the middle of the road, and the ART can't find an avenue. But now it's ascending up the hill. Tyrrell looking to ascend up the order. We've seen some moves round the outside of Casino before, but Tyrrell not trying his luck, playing the patient game. He's done it before at the Lowe's hairpin and could have another bite of the cherry on that one. Jamie Tarquin takes the fastest lap. And unfortunately for Tyrrell, just too many mistakes out of Mirabeau. And while they're entering into the double right-hander, this man's almost entering the last lap. Won the first 2 races of this season. Had an insane drought by Thanasi's standards. Fundamentally a Sahara Desert in comparison, but... Oh, Pathiman's got a 3-second time penalty. No! Oh, dear. Oh, no. Buck, where have you gone? Oh, you're there. Welcome back, Buck20. He has the number 9 on his car as well, but it is in P9. Back to this man, though. Back to this man. And words fail, really, to explain just how dominant this driver's been around the Principality. Qualified on pole by 8 temps. Got the perfect start, drove the wet conditions wonderfully, switched to the dry, drove dominant, run rampant every single lap. And what it's going to be, ladies and gentlemen, is almost a Grand Slam. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the fastest lap. But either way, there is no denying what a drive this has been. A delight to watch behind the wheel, in full control of every car he has ever been given the privilege of driving. And Thanasi, all he has to do is round the final few corners of the Principality to win once again in Season 17. It took him a while for the last one, but it's going to be back to back for Thanasi. He wins the feature race in Monaco in convincing fashion. Timoleile, the championship leader, scores a very decent haul of points in P2. And Pathiman will soon round the final corner And it is pure elation for Pathiman. It's a podium. It just evaded him in Baku. Not this time, though. The ART man is on the rostrum at the Principality. And when all the times are calculated, it's an ART 3-4. Once again. Just like it was in Baku, although in reverse order, it's Pathiman in front of Tirik, who played enough of the patient game. And look at Big Sam. Oh my god. Had Big Sam been any closer? 18 thousandths was all that was in it when times were calculated. But he does have to settle for P7. Wilco in 8th, but 20 does hold on to 9th. Terziak with what I believe is also the fastest lap next to his name. No, it isn't. I think that was... Never mind. What can you do? Monaco done and dusted, ladies and gentlemen. But what's this? Hark! A voice from the F1 gods. There are 2 races to go. And next up, we had... just after the duel of the F1 calendar. Apparently my brain's fading as well. I apologise. An injection of the blood plasma of Christ into my veins. But only one can be crowned king of the streets of Monte Carlo. And etching himself further into royalty, Thanasi does it again. And his conquest for the championship very much alive. They spray absolutely nothing. I mean, forget it. I know they've been strict on alcohol laws, but this is getting out of hand. I mean, just shaking about some glass bottles. I mean, not only does it look weird, it's just weird, actually. I have nothing else to add to that. What more can you say? If I went to a motor race and I just saw them waving some bottles around and no liquids at all... Wait. I'll admit that wasn't my smartest commentary line, I'm sorry. But congratulations to our podium dwellers. Tremendous from Thanasi. Equally from Timalele. Holds his championship lead, extends it significantly. Thanasi on the march, though. Race 1 of 3 down. Thanasi ticks 1 off the checklist. But who will be next to be crowned king? Because soon, very soon, it will be off to the Temple of Speed for the Italian Grand Prix. A 35% race. One-shot quali once again. You had better be ready for it. Because I know I certainly am. Well, there you are, ladies and gentlemen. Pathiman says podium, and good evening, Pathiman. And congratulations on the podium, my friend. Thoroughly deserved. Was very close in Baku. Was the width of an A4 sheet away from a podium. Not the case this time. Comfortably a podium for the ART man. And now, in the world of Blackout, they graduate extremely quickly. I know! They graduate extremely quickly. The instantaneous moment that they finish their work in Formula 2. Well, guess what? Guess what? They just go back to Formula 1. It's just a quick turnaround. They have a very, very quick promotion policy. That's all I'm trying to say. So, Monaco then. Actually, very decent race. Wilco says couldn't do that start again. Oh, God. Well, I am quite ill, but I tell you what, nothing to sort out a cold than the heat of competition. And Monaco has proven to do just that. Ultimately, the heat dried out the rain. Wilco said, Rocket Man. Hell yeah. Absolutely. I would find more Elton John songs to throw in here, but unfortunately a candle in the wind would have been extinguished. But nothing could have extinguished the charge of Thanasi. An absolutely dominant drive from start to finish. From the start of the weekend, in fact. It wasn't even close. Unbelievable stuff. And now we exit the Monaco Grand Prix, where, indeed in the wet, mistakes were very much made. And Stark's prediction of Monaco not having safety cars actually came very true. They did not have safety cars. I need to check what my keybinds are quickly because we have a clip. We have a clip. It's been a while. It has been a while since we've had a clip in one of these. Just need to find which one it is. And now I know which one it is. So, let me do that quickly. So, for context, this is Buck 20. There's apparently been some evasive maneuvers on Dirkleton in these 30 seconds. Let's find out. Lights out and away we don't go.
Why is he not doing
Away we don't go. Buck 20, what are you doing? Not actually what... That is... That... There. See that? That's juvenile. I think that's ultimately why Dirkleton got a bad start. He was distracted by your member hanging out of your Invicta car. And really, I do have to ask as well, why is it pointy? Why have you sharpened it? That's weird. Anyway, moving on. He's done the evasive maneuvers on Dirkleton. Apparently just a mine. Oh my god, Magico's been cropped. Well, that's what I saw in the background. I hardly commented on it because apparently Milo was in first. But that's just on my screen, clearly. As you can... Okay, so Magico's on the... Okay, so Milo has come across Big Sam. So, once they wiped it off and Milo said he was sorry, that then... Oh, hell. Oh, hell. That is quite a big crash. There's a crash. I think Terziak's... I think Terziak's said it. No, I shouldn't laugh. It's Magico, actually. You pricks. Why have you done that? That's actually really rude. Milo kind of moved across, but it was ultimately actually the contact, I think, with... Yeah, I think Terziak and Magico it's Terziak and Magico. I think they just made contact. It was unfortunate. I think Magico's nose was just along his rear wheel. So, it's unfortunate, but it is one of those things. So there you are. That was quite fun to watch, and ultimately it meant Buck 20 gained another position. Yay! Great success for Buckleton. Well, we wait patiently now. We wait patiently because it's almost time for the Italian Grand Prix. Much different by nature. Monaco, all the downforce, slap it on. Monza, forget downforce, mate. What you actually want is Saturn 5 strapped to the back of your car. Because the Temple of Speed doesn't play around. It does not play around. Of course, one-shot quali, just like before. Please tell me you got my start. I did. I did get your start. It was almighty. However, I will admit, I was also confused by the fact that my screen said Milo was leading and you were in P2. Which made me think that is a really, really good start. But ultimately, that's just my screen being my screen. So that's fun. The drivers, they're all getting in their F1 cars, guys. The promotion is so quick. Stark, who wasn't a promo, is already in Ferrari. Magico, High-Tech have seen enough. They said that's a great result. I believe it's actually solid points for Magico, so well done him. But they've seen enough. The Welshman is now a Mercedes faithful. The McLaren man of Buck 20 and also Milo, they've been promoted rapidly. Kick Saubers of Maximus and Slam. The Alpine of the Pathahuman and Tyrrell. Just listing off drivers. This is what you're all tuned in for, isn't it? Jamie Tarquin and Dirkleton in the Red Bull car. Did we have both? No, we did have both of them in last week, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we did. No, we did. I remember now. Yeah. We had both Red Bulls. But we do have both Aston Martins. Terziak, of course, has returned for this week. And Big Sam... Well, actually, no, it's Big Sam returning. My bad. Terziak stayed. Big Sam has returned for this week. But we have a full complement of Aston Martin drivers. 2 Williams drivers as well. And if I wanted to be quirky and join in, I'd be a Haas. Because they haven't got much representation. And I feel like that's quite sad, really. I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm doing my best to battle through it. Actually, no, it's not even a battle. I'm managing my voice quite well, considering, but it's just annoying when you have like 3 colds consecutively. And now I feel it in my nose. So it definitely is a cold. It's not a placebo. This is the real deal. Help me. Not fun. Anywho. I've been tagged in something. No, Magic Eye, I didn't see your overtake on Dirk. I'm sorry. I will reload it and I will have a look. I'm sorry. But there's no time to dawdle. There's no time to dwell on overtakes gone past. The present is a gift, and the gift is Monza. And more importantly, Blackout. Monza's okay, but Blackout's where the real present is at. One shot quali, once again. Are you a sucker for realism? Then why not try out the simulation vehicle damage mode? Are you a sucker for realism? Yes, I am. Then how about I'm not surgically superglued into my race suit in career mode, because that looks really weird, and I don't live like that. Thanks, EA. Cool, I got all my anger out there. One shot quali. We are entering into the Saturday sprint here. This is the real Saturday sprint. None of this sprint race shenanigans. This is one shot. One chance only. Is it? Hang on. No. Right. I will admit, my graphics are on ultra low. But what are some of those faces? Look in the middle. That is... That... The pale blue shirt near the top. Well, it's just across from the top, right? But as pale blue as you're going to get. It's actually grey, I think. But you see that? That's a Minecraft villager. And they've also got no hands. They've just got stumps. We know what F1 is about. F1 is about inclusivity. So you know what? That's actually really sensitive from them to hire not only Minecraft villagers, but also saw their hands off just to... Oh, God. Who am I talking about? Anyway, one shot quali. Turn up the noise. The V6 Symphony of Sound. As we go across the line, we're going to ride on board with last time's pole sitter, Mr. Thanasi. I have caught him. Away we go for qualifying at the Temple of Speed. On board with the Williams car, it's a cracking launch down towards T1, brake at the 100-meter board. Really take as much speed as you dare, actually rather tentative from the Williams driver, but a great exit. Slingshots him well on his way, and then it's hug the inside of the Curva Grande. Long, sweeping, not a very tight radius, but it feels like it flows forever. But now it's the second chicane, bumping over 1 and then 2, using every single inch of track here in Monza. Slams in P2. Good grief, he's flying out there. As Thanasi flies through Lesmo 2 and quickly, rapidly rises the ranks into P1. DRS, maximum flappage, under the bridge towards the Ascari chicane. And now it's a question of how much do you dare to cut the first part? The answer is more, just enough, as much as is needed. And then avoiding the curves everywhere else, letting the car dance around the rest of the corners. And now you've just got the final corner. The Parabolica, the Alboreto curve. Slightly wide on the entry, but hug the inside, line of least resistance. And for the second time today, it's a Williams on pole position. And the only man who dares to dip into the 1:19s. Thanasi takes pole, Timolele not far behind, but everywhere else looked almightily close. It was pretty close, at least in the top 10's terms. Tyrrell in P3, Jamie Tarquin made his way to P4, Pathiman in P5, and then it's the Kick Saubers, Slam in 6th, Maximus in 7th, Terziak in 8th, Milo in 9th, Stark in 10th, with Big Sam, Buck 20, Buck 57, Vulcan, Dirkleton, Mr. Magico, who got disqualified, and also the Captain Wilco. And while he had to sail his ship onwards in Monaco, it looks like the wet weather has subsided here in Monza. Wake up, it's race day. And maybe don't count your chickens before they hatch, because it looks like It could be... I can't stand them looking like Minecraft Village. I'm so sorry. I did do this last time because for some reason my game was the most choppy thing in all of human history. So, perhaps... There we go, some coherent human faces. Now back to the action. And they've also got hands. They actually can clap. Well, not saying people with no hands can't clap. But, oh, God, I'm getting cancelled. Look, the point is, we're here at race day. And don't worry. If you don't have any hands, Mr. Paddock Club and Miss Paddock Club, we don't discriminate, it's okay. Because Blackout, in solidarity, sometimes chop their nose off. So there you are. Who's saying we're not inclusive? Of course, Formula 1 terms, slightly different kettle of fish. Ultimately, though, a 35% race. I imagine it will be the two softer compounds of tyres at play. But the DRS and the slipstream, they have been so powerful before. Perhaps it will rear its head again today. Lights out and away we go. Both on the front row are on the medium tyres. Timalele's got a slightly better launch, though, and holds it to the inside, but Thanasi ruthlessly chops across in the Williams car, but diving down the inside comes an Alpine. Thanasi has no choice but to take avoiding action. Jamie targeting chaos through the first few corners as Big Sam's cut the chicane completely. Already a time penalty for Thanasi of 3 seconds. Really had nowhere to go as the Alpine barged him out of the way, and Timalele down the inside takes the lead for Mercedes, but a wobble at the exit opens the door for the Williams, but not for long. Not for long enough, and so Thanasi settles into P2, already a new race leader, as the Ferrari in front of the home faithful, the Tifosi, looks to try and rise up the ranks. Slam has done so, though. He's ahead of Pathiman in P5. Great start from the Kick Sauber man. Towards Ascari they go for the first time. Lots of defensive duties going on at the front. Sparks flying up as Slam thought about a move on Jamie Tarquin midway through the corner. And he's actually completely dislodged the Red Bull man away from these three. Thanasi again looking to the outside of Parabolica. He's driving with some real heat under the helmet. Don't read into that too much. But Slipstream and DRS, of course, after one lap, it is enabled. But already, you don't even need DRS. It's going to be Slipstream stations. Tyrrell goes through on Thanasi, and we'll have the outside line on Timalele, but can't hold it round the outside. Slam and Jamie Tarquin going into combat behind. And again, another Kick Sauber's in the fray. Maximus has gone through, as there looks like, and I could be mistaken, but it looks like front wing damage for one of the cars. I thought I saw some carbon fibre flying off, at least an end plate of some kind. Buck 20 looks fine. Might have been Milo caught up in the crossfire, which is not the ideal start to proceedings whatsoever. No, I see who it is. I think that was a Ferrari. No, oh my God, what have you done? And somehow, unbelievably, Wilco and Milo avoid all the chaos as Terziak and co rejoin in what is an absolute catastrophe. I can't even compute what just happened there. My voice can hardly keep up. But at the moment, Tyrrell is your race leader, but Timalele already trying to go through before the Parabolica. And you can't do that because DRS games will be played. Just about. Timalele stays behind though, and Thanasi keeping a watchful eye on proceedings as the Kick Saubers join the party. DRS enabled, lap number 3, and you can already tell exactly what's going to happen here. Tyrrell descends from P1 down to P3 as Thanasi now dives to the inside of Timalele. Very, very opportunistic move and a delightful dive from the Williams driver. Sees him into P1. Hyper aggressive, but exactly what he feels is needed to be done. But now he's got to use that pace as much as he can, but without DRS assistance on his side, that could prove tricky. Timalele diving to the inside, looking for an avenue through, as Stark looks for a way, past the McLaren of Milo, round the outside at La Roja. Great racing between the Ferrari and the McLaren, but the Tifosi can shout all of the triumphant calls because Stark, even with front wing damage on the front right end plate, makes his way through to P6. Good news for Thanasi, he has got pace. And really good pace at that. 8.5 tenths, the gap already. So just needed to stretch his legs, and now he's been given the opportunity to do so. As we ride on board with the Mercedes, though, there is a problem that could exacerbate itself. Thanasi hasn't got battery. Not only that, but Tim has got DRS. And with a bit of battery usage, look at that gap erode. Out of absolutely nowhere, but Tim can't do anything. But Stark also is a helpless bystander in the grand scheme of things. He now dips behind his teammate Wilco, who had such an overspeed on the outside. All carefully and meticulously planned out as across the runoff area goes Vulcan. Breezes through some polystyrene boarding. Regardless, it will be a 3-second time penalty. And the man who's donned Sebastian Vettel's number, perhaps emulating Sebastian Vettel a bit too much, like in 2020, when his Ferrari got brake failure. Pathiman, but it's not been a great time for Pathiman since the beginning of this race. In fact, since qualifying. In fact, he started in P5, but is now in P11. But on the back of a sizable DRS train. And we've seen before, one mistake in the DRS trains can open up a whole host of opportunities for the cars behind. Speaking of which, Big Sam not with the optimal exit whatsoever. Pathiman firmly in the wheel tracks as Big Sam tries to helplessly claw onto DRS from the cars ahead, but resistance will be futile. Pathiman's ascension up the order can begin. The change for the race lead, nay, the change for P2 has happened. Tim goes through and Tyrrell goes through. Pathiman with an academic move with DRS assistance. As up ahead, it's complete chaos. Millo's gone through to P6. Stark now in P7. Buck 20 in P8. And Wilco ships down to 9th position as Pathiman latches himself once again to the quadrangle of cars up ahead. Kicks Sauber in a world of their own. They're loving life. Well, the front three have managed to get their stuff together. Sauber surging on in 4th and 5th. And I don't want to tempt fate too early, but what a result this would be. Qualified extremely well, kept out of trouble. And now have a very, very good opportunity at bringing home some very solid points indeed. Through Ascari they go. Stark's got past Millo. Down the inside into the Ascari chicane with a dosage of DRS at his disposal. But now, of course, it's roles reversed. Millo's the one with it. And behind Stark, some very, very hungry hammerhead sharks. Not to say their heads are... Oh, God, Wilco's made an error! Wilco's made a big error! A spin to the infield. That Parabolica asks too much of the rear of the car. Hugs the inside and thankfully keeps well out of the way of Buck 57, Magico, and a smattering of others who have now managed to ascend their way through... Well, courtesy of the fact that Jamie Tarquin and Terziak, of course, had to pit for damage. But Magico... Oh my God! Stark's had a huge issue! What on earth has he done? Front wing completely gone. And so a safety car here on lap 6. Good grief. Well, you know what I'm going to say? We need a replay of it. How have you all managed that? It can't be much worse than what he was driving with anyway. And actually, considering there's no downforce, no front wing probably won't affect the Ferrari. So that's good news for Stark. I stand corrected. He had to try and do vintage Fernando Alonso steering through Lesmo 1. So, under safety car. Great news for me. It gives me time to save my voice. So, let's run through the pecking order here on lap number 6. Entering lap number 7 soon. Timalele, your race leader, with Tyrrell in P2. Thanasi in P3, but probably has every right to remove the 3-second time penalty he received at the beginning of this contest. The Kick Saubers are 4th and 5th, and they have, well, they should actually double stack. They definitely should double stack, and they are smart. Oh my God, that was close to being front wings off, front wheels off, and death. Luckily, not this time. I was going to say they should double stack because McLaren are going to have to double stack as well, and really they won't lose that much time. Out of the pits they go. Top 3 remains as is. Maximus out into P4. Let's see where Slam comes out. It will be behind the McLaren of Milo, but not much time lost at all. Cleverly done by the Kick Sauber boys. However, McLaren, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. As down to P14 goes Buck 20. With Buck 57, the Bucks are going to be bringing the fizz at the back of the field. 57 versus 20. Who will reign supreme? Find out after the break, because it's a safety car. Like I say, top 3 as is. Milo's now up to P5. Slam in P6. Big Swimmer up to P7 with Pathyman 8th. Vulcan in 9th. My husband, Magico, in P10. And not only that, he's made a pit stop to boot. On the medium tyres now for the rest of this race. This could give the likes of Magico and also Pathyman, don't count out Pathyman in this at all, the highest placed car on the medium tyres. Has used the hard compound, obviously, earlier in this race. Now has a great chance to utilise the pace of the softer compound when this safety car peels in and really cause problems to those out in front. Only time will tell. Outside of the top 10, Stark in P11 has changed his front wing, managed to get ahead of the McLaren of Buck 20 despite everything. So who's the real winner? Dirkleton in P12, Buck 57 in P13, Buck 20 in P14, Wilco 15th, with the last 2, Jamie Tarquin, rapidly approaching the back of the safety car queue, and same for Mr. Terziak. Still time to go in this one. 3 stops already been committed by Terziak. Not exactly... not by choice, particularly, but, you know, it's all a means to an end for the Flying Scotsman in P17, but at the back of the train... I was going to say that's where all the fuel's kept. That's not exactly true, is it? There's good catering at the back of the train, I imagine. Anywho... As Terziak scrounges on some good scran. As there's a get in there, Lewis. Hello, F1 Alex. Hello, my friend. Thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the Blackout Racing League. Hope you enjoy. Did someone say highest scoring F2 driver in Creator Series history? He has now. He is among us. We've been joined by F2 Creator Series royalty at the Temple of Speed. He sits on looking this sumptuous spectacle here on lap number 8, approaching the fulcrum point of the Italian Grand Prix. Still a procession under safety car, and Jamie Tarquin and Terziak using this opportunity to use more rubber than potentially the Amazon rainforest. Thought I'd never mention it. If I'm on at Vegas this week, I'll mention it again, don't worry. I assure you I will. Probably even this Thursday, but we shall see. It's going good, well, I say it's going good. I've had like 3 colds in a row. So, I'm on my own. Yeah, I'm on my own. I am the one strong commentary team for this Blackout broadcast. I'm absolutely fine with that. It's no problem at all. It does take a toll on my throat, normally, but that's not an issue, to be fair. It is not an issue at all. What is an issue is I've had like 3 colds in a row. And I've had the last however many weeks of commentary have been rather difficult as a result. But, you know, it's all good fun. And ultimately, it's all about locking in. Which is what all of these drivers are going to have to do. Because the safety car is in. As it approaches the Parabolica, the Mercedes man will be the one to slam on the loud pedal. And then we shall get back underway. Rolex sponsorship, but who will time be on the side of in this contest? We're right on board with the man in P2, the Alpine of pure Tyrrell. He's got to have some pure grit, as Timalele is slipping and sliding all over the place on his hard compound tyres, looking for any morsel of heat, as we're on to the start-finish straight across the line. We are back racing here at the Temple of Speed, and already firmly in the slipstream is the Alpine of Tyrrell, potentially diving the nose to the inside, but not close enough to think about a move. The Mercedes man has it under control. Behind, though, is anyone trying to get through? Yes, they are. The Tifosi have something to cheer about, albeit only briefly, because the Mercedes of Magico has done some dutiful defence against the Ferrari faithful, but Stark, again, with a dose of slipstream towards La Rosia, has used every single ounce of the Energizer Bunny. What can he do? By God almighty, thought about raucous dive to the inside, but instead is caught napping on the exit, and Dirkleton says thank you very much, swipes up P11, and so on it goes. Thank you, Alex. See you on Thursday, my friend. Have a good evening. Back to the action. Stark in the slipstream has a golden ticket and is getting the popcorn out ultimately, because Dirkleton could be on the move. He himself looking for some revitalisation and resuscitation after the restart. As the car getting very snappy through Ascari, and that means Buck 57's going to get through, not just on Stark, but on Derek Dirkleton as well. Mighty piece of pace from the Williams driver, and DRS enabled as Timalele crosses the line, but Tyrrell won't even need it. Slipstream is all he needs, as Thanasi could look to the middle of the track should he so dare, but Tim leaves the space for Tyrrell, has the inside line, but ultimately momentum favours a man on the outside line, and Timalele holds on to P1. The front four, you can hardly separate them as Vulcan and Magico go into combat, but Magico's made a mistake. He's gone across the runoff area. I don't know if he was pushed off the track or whether that was of his own doing. I'm not going to assume anything, but it is a 10-second penalty nonetheless. Buck 57 looking racy, though, down the inside of Lesmo 1. Goes Buck 57, will ship DRS away, but that's a great move from the Williams driver, and Magico now challenging the Red Bull man, but two Red Bulls firmly in the fight. Jamie Tarquin with DRS, but Terziak's there. You can hardly separate the 5 cars. I can hardly believe it, but Jamie Tarquin goes round the outside, goes off the track. Magico has the inside. Terziak thinks he has the momentum. Wilco has more momentum, but ultimately gets his avenue completely chopped off by the Aston Martin driver. Down the inside goes Terziak as Wilco enters and exits the Parabolica in swift succession. And something terrible happened to Stark because it was... Oh, I remember. It was the exit at De La Roja, and it started a snowball and spiral of despair. Oh, no. Back at the front, Tyrrell is your race leader, has kept the race lead since taking it on the main straight, I assume. I don't think it would have been before. Oh, no! Wilco's had a problem. He's had a spinning moment, but luckily has the car pointing in the right direction, and so we shall continue. Tyrrell leads, Timalele second, Thanasi in third, Maximus fourth. Milo completes the top 5. 8 cars in this DRS train at this stage. Oh no, Magico! No. It's been a big issue. Front wing damage for the Mercedes man. It's okay, it happens to the best of us. Back at the front! Tyrrell has survived the Ascari onslaught, but now it's going to be the Parabolica pummeling. What more can he do to defend as Thanasi looks to the inside of Timalele behind? It is going to be a DRS demolition job for the cars behind. Maximus at the back of the train, I think, are plausible cars that will overtake Tyrrell. Here's Timalele, firmly in the wheel tracks, goes to the inside. Thanasi on the outside. It's a sublime sandwich for them in their context. Maximus brakes late as he dares. Potentially will get the outside line. It's getting very dicey between the front 3. What on earth went on? Timalele forced to the runoff. Maximus is through into P3. Switches to the inside, but Milo's there as well. Milo on the outside line in P2, albeit briefly. Thanasi uses the momentum to go round the outside of Tyrrell at La Roja. Snap of oversteer though. Compromises the momentum. Tyrrell's through again. Oh my god, I can hardly keep up, but it's rapturous racecraft from every single one of the drivers here at Monza. I can hardly keep up. My synapses have lost a cylinder, but these drivers certainly haven't. Sensational developments in the dynamic of the Italian Grand Prix. Tyrrell, your race leader still, when all is said and done. Thanasi in P2, Milo in P3, and Maximus remains in P4 after all that. But it's Timalele going down the inside of the Parabolica on the kick man. But look at the speed. Maximus takes into it, just about manages to hold it round the outside. Albeit, just at the last, Timalele has the momentum required. And now it's DRS Stations Part 2. Big defence to the inside from Tyrrell. Thanasi has no choice but to go to the outside line as it's all getting very dicey behind. 3 wide, and it means Timolele draws the short straw on the exit again. Maximus down to P6. Pathiman's there for P5. On those medium tyres, I told you, watch out for him. It could get very interesting. Darting to the inside of Timolele. I don't know if he intended to, but oh my god! Milo sends Timolele off into the gravel trap. That's almightily rude from the McLaren man. That is what I call the Max Verstappen. Almightily rude from Milo. Sees him hold P3. Timolele will probably quite rightly feel very hard done by. No consolation though. He's in P8. Slam now up into P4 down the inside at the Ascari chicane. But these lot are going to get disjointed. The DRS is going to evade them. And what was an 8-car battle for the lead is now just going to be 2. Thanasi takes the lead of the race. You don't need me to tell you what's going to happen next because it's obvious. Behind, though, it's anyone's guess. Pull the names out of a hat. I don't know. Tyrrell will take the lead of this one. And then here comes Timolele on the outside. I can only assume the Silver Arrows man has seen red. There's no other way that this is going to go. After being hosed off into the gravel in the sandbox by the McLaren man of Milo. Tim has a score to settle now. He really does. He sees his target in front of him. Firmly in the reticule, and he's not going to go down without a fight. An almighty La Roja chicane as Thanasi looks to fight Tyrrell once again, but they're just going to ship more and more time to the Mercedes behind if they keep on trying to fight at every single corner. Oh no! Wilco's had another problem, and it's a front wing issue. Voldemort greets him. Well, I think it's only with they're not friends yet, they're just colleagues, because he has only lost half his front wing. If it's the full front wing, Stark is in the elite club. He knows Voldemort like the back of his hand. Stark, by the way, has gone very under the radar. He's in P10 now. What a drive from the Ferrari man. Was right at the back of the grid, but now finds himself just on the outer reaches, and slowly but surely reeling in the cars ahead. The harder they battle, the more it favours the Ferrari faithful. And all the Tifosi that came out to play will be jumping for joy. But Thanasi retakes the lead of the Italian Grand Prix. Ultimately, Timolele has relatched onto the back of the train, though. It's exactly what he needs to do in the context of his race, obviously. But Milo, if he can stay ahead, he's, I think, still Timolele's closest challenger in the championship currently. However, I think Tim, like I say, he has a score to settle. I was going to say, I doubt he'll be very happy. I can assure you, he will not be even slightly happy. He will be seething in the cockpit of the Mercedes car. And has been for a few laps now. Has deployed pace out of pure grit and anger. And now finds himself again with his aggressor up in front of him of Milo. Ultimately, he's looking ahead. He doesn't really want to care about what's behind him. Has got some great pace in this second stint. And now, obviously, setting his sights on the front of the field. Pathiman, though. The French connection. Looking to the English breakfast tea up ahead. The green machine of Big Swimmer. Has a bit of a snap on the exit. The fastest lap of the Grand Prix. For Thanasi, but a bit of ERS deployment. Has plenty of it to use. And DRS as well. Pathiman breezes through into P7. It's all getting academic now in this game of trains. There's Max. No! Maximus disconnects. Actually, has he? I don't know if he has, you know. Oh, no, he definitely has. That's a short shift. And that's not the optimal line. Oh, my God. Contact on the rear right as Pathiman goes round the outside, and Big Sam gives him a little nip of the diffuser there. That's a restraining order. But all the while they're stuck behind Maximus, the more they're just shipping seconds upon seconds Now they have DRS, luckily, but it is the least ideal scenario for the Alpine ace and the Aston Martin assassin behind. Through goes Pathiman as to the inside, tries to defend Mr. Maximus as he tries to regain control of the Kick Stallion. His teammate now comfortably in P5, so perhaps that was the game plan all along. Back at the front, Thanasi out in front as they enter lap number 17. They have to do the calculations now, of course. At this stage on lap number 17, lap number 17, if you are in front, that's where exactly you want to be. Milo goes to the inside, way too late and overcooked from Tyrrell as he gets onto the grass. It's a 10-second time penalty. It's really getting grisly out of the front at the Italian Grand Prix. Thanasi cuts in between Milo and Timalele. That's their run for the victory, completely up in smoke as Milo and Timalele emerge through the mist with marvellous ramifications. Milo in P1, Tim in P3, as Tyrrell and Thanasi wonder how it's got away from them. Meanwhile, back in Ferrari land for a brief moment, Stark is getting my vote for driver of the day again. Plum last. Pretty much at the beginning of this restart, has recovered fantastically up to P7. And now, with no penalties next to his name as well, bearing in mind, finds himself with a great chance of P4. There's a big problem, though, for the Kick Sauber behind. Buck 20 was involved in that. Vulcan involved. Maximus is out of this Grand Prix. A huge slam as Buck 57 is out. It's an almighty crash on the penultimate straight. Oh my goodness me. Vulcan's out. Maximus out. A triple threat has been trounced off of the field as Terziak manages to recover with mostly emotional damage. My goodness me, what drama at the Italian Grand Prix, and what drama that unbelievably has not resulted in a safety car. How is that possible? Terziak into the pit lane then. To say this week hasn't gone his way for him so far is an understatement. Everything that could have gone against him has certainly gone against him. No less that. The Kick Sauber of Maximus stranded in the middle of the track. Buck 57 and Vulcan, the innocent parties, couldn't avoid it, and it resulted in an almighty crash on lap number 17. And onto the penultimate lap. Nay, now the last lap in all the drama. Well, here we go then. To decide the victor, on the track at least, of the Italian Grand Prix, we have 4 cars raring and ready to pick up the pieces. Tyrrell on the outside of Timalele. Tim goes down the inside of Milo. Milo defends very, very well. Keeps P2 in his clutches. And this is all for a win, bearing in mind. The more he can stay in DRS, just use Thanasi to pull him along, the better. But down the inside, into La Roja. Timalele tries to go. Timalele does go. Through the Mercedes man, makes his way into P2. Provisionally P1 when all penalties are applied. Meanwhile, it's not great. It's not great news for Dirkleton. But he's back the right way. Back to the fight at the front then. Thanasi will come through to claim the win on the road. No question about that. Wilco's taken the fastest lap of this Grand Prix as Jamie Tarquin's come into the pit lane. Not entirely sure why. He's just shipped a position. Why would he do that? I don't know. It's a bit strange. But towards the final corner we go. Tyrrell's trying to get Milo, Timalele, he's already got Milo, despite everything. Through the final corner, though, at the Temple of Speed, it has been a rather dramatic scenario. Thanasi will cross the line to win on the road, but returning to the top step of the podium, the championship leader, Timalele, Milo in second, and then, look who it is, in P3, the Kick Sauber's done it! Slam takes a podium. He's on the rostrum at the Temple of Speed. There was no kicking and screaming. It was cool, calm and collected. Stark was so close. After being plumb last, almost made it to a podium. Pathiman 5th. Thanasi finishes 6th with Tyrrell in 7th. Big Sam in 8th. Buck 20 in 9th. Dirkleton rounds out the top 10 sideways. And then, the second Ferrari. Wilco through the final corner. And across the line. He comes home. Oh, massive crash. Oh, it's a bloodbath on the main straight. As Wilco no longer has a front wing. I mean, look at the shot for yourself. It's a dastardly situation. Terziak crosses the line in P12. As there's been some kind of big issue here. Oh, Jamie Tarkin's on the wets. And I think Magico might have hit him. I don't really know what's happened, but Jamie Tarquin lets Magico through, pushes him across the line. Great solidarity between the final two drivers. And Monza has been minced. Whew. And breathe. And breathe. Oh my god. Blackout, you lot are trying to kill me today, aren't you? Jeez Louise. What a race. At the Temple of Speed. Another scintillating spectacle. Again, only one winner. The crowned king of the streets was first on the road, even at the Temple of Speed. But ultimately, finding himself on the throne of excellence, or herself, should I say, Timalele takes top honours again. The Mercedes man returns to the top step. And is there more of an historic place to do it? You'd be hard-pressed to find one. Raising the roof. Lifting the trophy to the heavens. And it was a drive heaven sent in the end. Pushed off into the gravel. But you're never down and out. That is the mark of a champion. And they clink their 7-Up free. A big swig. And that will do it. Oh, we don't get to look through the running order again, by the way. I know it was Maximus, Vulcan, and Buck 57 that were the unfortunate DNFs from the Italian Grand Prix. Other than that, you all know the running order. I managed to say it before the end, but we can't have nice things, so I'm sorry. But there we are. Marvellous Monza race, my God. And like I say, you lot, are you trying to kill me? Like, what am I doing? What are we doing here? This is just horrible. The only thing I will say in the Blackout chat, there's one word that sums it up very well: chaos. And it was. It absolutely was chaos. I can hardly believe what I've just watched. That was absolutely unbelievable. Wilco says 25 past is when we are next on. Thank you, Wilco. What a legend. What a legend Wilco is. We do have a video, though. And it's Dirkleton using the ultra-wide setting, or as I like to call it, the Virtual Boys setting. So, playing it along, the yellow flag up ahead. Ah, I know what this is going to be. This is going to be the yellow flag situ. So, through Ascari. We still haven't seen the problem yet. Have we seen the problem now? Just emerging in the foreground. So, Terziak does actually manage to avoid it, as does Maximus. However, Vulcan and Buck 57 have a big problem, and there's... oh my god.
Sorry. Oh my god. I did not see.
Mate, what a save. What a save that is.
Sorry. Oh my god.
Yeah, that is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. That is an almighty save. So basically, yeah, it was Vulcan that hit him first, and then Buck 57 tried to avoid it, but... oh, no, it's Buck 57 that hit him. It was one of those two, but Buck 57 was then stranded. Vulcan tried to avoid, had nowhere to go. Then Terziak was really an innocent party and couldn't avoid it at all. And Dirkleton with the save of the whole millennia. Forget century. This whole millennium will never see a better save. That is unbelievable from him. Just about manages to keep the car pointing in the right direction. And you know what? Dirkleton, you know what? It gets a clap from me. It does get a clap from me. Buck 20 has another clip as well. So does Buck 50. Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
Right, so this is the first crash. Here we go. This is ultimately what rendered Jamie Tarquin and Terziak's race done at the beginning. And then it somehow came undone at the end as well. But here it is. Buck 20 through Lesmo 1, as you can see. So Sauber's gone wide, but not as wide as Jamie Tarquin up ahead. Terziak sees an opportunity, tries to go through, but Jamie Tarquin goes across to try and regain the track. And ultimately, it means anarchy. Okay. It means absolute anarchy.
Oh my god.
Again,
Oh my god.
Buck 20 has to go for a spot of lawn mowing, but him and Stark do actually decent to avoid said scenario, because that would have got very, very grisly. It was Pathaman that was involved as well. Pathaman, an innocent party. Okay. Jamie Tarquin slams into the wall.
My god.
Oh my
I'll tell you what. And Milo and Wilco, by the way, did great to avoid that as well. I don't know how they managed it to come out of that unscathed, but fair play. Absolutely unbelievable. And then there was Buck 57. And Buck 57's was rather unfortunate. It was so unfortunate, in fact, that there literally is no audio whatsoever. So that probably sums it up. Through towards Ascari we go. Down the inside goes the kick Sauber of Maximus. Hard racing between the two of them. And a big shunt from the Sauber of Maximus. And then, yeah, it ultimately renders Buck 57 and Maximus stranded in the middle of the track. And, well, you know the rest. You know the rest. There could be a million more clips. An absolute truck ton. But my God. Well, we've used 3 minutes of our time very wisely there. Jesus. I mean, what more do you say, realistically? It's just absolutely unprecedented how well it went. That was utterly incredible. Words fail to describe a race as rapturous as that. A contest as chaotic. You won't find one. Simply because none exists. I've had all my energy taken out of me from that. How am I going to do Australia? How's that going to be possible? I don't know how I'm going to do it. Honestly, I've been rendered a vegetable. Actually, that's harsh. Not a vegetable. I have been rendered relatively tired. Let's put it that way. And those 3 clips were just a sample of what was an absolute spectacle from start to finish. Ultimately, though, only one can steal the spotlight. Timalele was that one. When penalties and whatnot were applied, Thanasi won it on the track, but at the end, I imagine he probably has a good case to have all his penalties taken off. So Thanasi might even still win this. I have no idea. At least on the track, Timalele won it. But I mean, the 3-second penalty, he got forced off the track and sort of had nowhere to go. And then the 10-second penalty, he was definitely forced off the track and had nowhere to go. So, you know, you win some, you lose some. I think ultimately he has a good case to have his penalties taken off. But you never know. I served a drive-through in Australia. It added 20 seconds onto my time. That never got taken off once I tried to argue that one, ultimately because I forgot to record Australia. The one race I forgot to record, and of course I could have had my penalties removed. You know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The point is, we're just gonna gloss over season 15 because there were many good things that happened in season 15. Italy and Australia were not 2 of those things. Monaco was great for me. I had a great time in Monaco. But Italy, Australia, we don't need to talk about those. Nothing happened. Don't worry about it. Fine, I'm talking about it now. Monza, I panicked because Big Sam clicked start and I put on a default setup by mistake. I ended up getting pole with the default setup, then proceeded to jump the start. And then, of course, a safety car came in before I could serve my drive-through. So I then had to serve my drive-through after, lost a load of time, and then only managed to get to the outside of the top 10, which is a good result and a good recovery, all things considered, but it should have been a lot more. And then Australia, I got a drive-through again for jumping the start. You can see where this is going. I got pole, but then I jumped the start. Served my drive-through after a safety car, again, which dropped me loads of places down the order. Terziak had a meteoric lead, I was never going to catch him, but made my way back up to P2, had searing pace, another safety car came out, I didn't exceed the delta, gave me a drive-through anyway, thanks game. I served my drive-through when the safety car came in. I think it was the lap after. I served my drive-through nonetheless, and ultimately, EA and Codemasters put their middle fingers out and shoved it where the sun didn't shine, which, for one, really hurt, but also was not very nice, because ultimately, it resulted in me finishing in P12 when I should have finished in P10, and my penalties never got removed. Not that it made a difference, obviously, because you all know the result by now. 4 seconds until we get underway with our final flurry of fabulousness in the Blackout Racing League, the Australian Grand Prix. Had a layout change in 2021. Could only be used for the first time, though, in 22, obviously, because of the COVID pandemic. COVID is still around, obviously, but it's just not a pandemic anymore. I don't know, it depends on your point of view of it, I guess. However, the new layout allows for its fair share of overtaking opportunities, also allows for its own fair share of DRS zones. Again, I hark back to the interview question that someone said at Singapore, which was, do they need to do more at street circuits to make overtaking possible? I'd argue that's up to the drivers to decide if they want to try and get the overtake done more. You can't afford to have desperation, but ultimately, it is their job to carve out the overtake, force their opponents into mistakes, find the gaps, and get close enough. That is what they should be able to do. They've got the machinery to do it with the ground effect cars, so they should be able to do it without having DRS assistance, because they could do it back in the mid-2000s. Yes, I know there was refueling. Shut up. That's not the point. The point is, it was possible back then, even without ground effect. It always has been possible. And there always has been races where it's been difficult to overtake. It's just because everyone now has Twitter, they don't shut up about it. The point is, it's 20 of the most talented drivers in the world. Let them cook. On to qualifying we go then. And we're going to go with our previous race winner, who's already taken P1. Timalele on the road through the first 2 corners. Carry as much momentum as you damn well dare. Curbs, of course, are advisory. Brake at the black box. And then pinch the front end in. Darting in. It's so sharp at the front. And then the rear end just about complying on the traction. Full throttle through the right-hander. And then ultimately hardly even a lift needed for the right-hander here. But Timalele decides to go down a couple of gears. I thought it'd be 1 gear. Slam the throttle pedal loud. Let the aerodynamics do the work. And on you go with your day. Slam doing well in the kick. Sauber provisionally at this moment. We've got Thanasi making his way up. Stark currently the man in P1. Would be a very nice pole position moment if he got up there. We shall soon find out. Not taking as much of the curb as I thought Timalele would do through the chicane. You can take a bit, but you do have to play chicken with the track limits. Use all of the track limits and a track as possible to dart the car in for the sharp right-hander, flick it in with the aerodynamics, and Stark, try as he might, nobody can stop this man today. He's done it once, he's done it twice, he said that was nice, how about thrice? Thanasi down the start-finish straight, it's 3 out of 3, pole position, and again the only man to make it into the 1 minute 16 barrier is the one to take pole position. It's the 1:19s he breached into in Monza. It's Australian annihilation in qualifying. Although 2 temps, it doesn't tell the whole story. Stark in P2, a great qualifying from the Ferrari man. Tyrrell in 3rd, Timalele in 4th. Slam, great result in 5th. Milo in 6th, Buck 27th. Wilco in 8th. Not at the back this time, let him cook. Big Sam in 9th, Derek Dirkleton, Cartel in 10th, Magico 11th, Vulcan 12th with Patherman, Terziak, Buck 57, and Jambul Tarquin, rounding out our lineup. I must also say I'm very upset because Maximus is now no longer here. That is a sad scenario. Terziak with a 1... There must have been some serious mistake at, like, the penultimate corner, because he was in P5. He was right up there. We're here for the Australian Grand Prix race day, and I see a problem. I see a problem, because that man in the middle there, in the khaki shirt, you see him, is cheering at a wall. You've got 16 of the finest racers right behind you. Why are you not paying attention to them? Well, while his scalp at least enjoys the Blackout bonanza behind him, the Australian Grand Prix then, again 35%er, again should be a one-stop. Although, safety cars can play a part. We saw it in the last race, and it could do very much the same in this contest. It's 20 laps, a round number of laps, for the Australian Grand Prix. Another foot-to-the-floor scenario. It really is now in Melbourne. Was quite a tricky and technical track in some respects previously. Now it is all systems go. 5 red lights down under. Lights out and away we go. And it's a great start from Stark in the Ferrari. What a launch. It's a scorching start and down the inside to turn 1. The Ferrari faithful leads out of the first corner. Already a yellow flag though, as Vulcan and Buck 57 have come to blows into the runoff area as Timalele and Slam go head to head, switching back and almost making contact with the McLaren of Milo. Allows Buck 20, his teammate, to say thank you very much. I'll take that invitation. Gold standard. First class delivery. As Jamie Tarquin's road to recovery begins, he's already up to P12. Stark leads then. Thanasi almost a second behind already. Tyrrell piling on the pressure as they head towards the chicane. But the slipstream is not enough to hoist the Alpine man ahead. Timalele in 4th, Slam in 5th, McLaren 6th and 7th with Dirkleton 8th, and Big Sam looking for a chance to try and overtake, albeit on the hard tyres for the Aston Martin. Terziak as well, his road to recovery is going well. He's in P11. Could look for a dive, but it's Wilco who's making the moves, or at least thinking about it on the hard tyres, because the exit on the softs and the momentum round the outside could be all that Terziak needs to set him up. Inside line for the penultimate corner. Wide goes Wilco, and through round the outside goes Terziak, following through. Accepting the compliments of the Aston Martin ace ahead is the ravenous Red Bull of Jamie Tarquin, who's looking to munch up some points-paying positions. Stark holds the lead then as we enter lap number 2. And it's Wilco that's had a problem out of turn number 1. Still has got grass and grit on his tyres. Magico locking up. Absolute eruption of smoke going through. His tyres are going to be hotter than Mount Etna with the longevity of the lockups. But ultimately keeping his cool for the time being. Jamie Tarquin very close to Terziak. Of course, DRS enabled on this lap. We could see some moves being made with the flappage. Tyrrell not making those moves though. Slam managed to get through on Timalele. He does get through, in fact, with DRS. I thought it was Timalele remaking the overtake. Scratch that sentence. Slam's taken 4th position for Kick Sauber. The surprise was too much. I've now got hiccups. Unbelievable. Slam having an absolutely wonderful week. Dirkleton having a big slide on. Terziak managed to get past his teammate, and now it's Jamie Tarquin looking for avenues through as the camera rocks around and wallows around. It's a disgusting view. But all the moves Jamie Tarquin has been telegraphing mean that Big Sam very much thrown off kilter, but somehow still with DRS. And with no battery to play with for the Red Bull driver, he has to bide his time just that little bit more. McLaren deciding that the best way forward is with their main man, Milo, in front. And so the swap has happened, and Milo can get to work on Timalele and on Slam. I believe still Timalele's closest championship challenger. Please don't quote me on that. Oh no! No wonder Stark's been so fast. 3-second time penalty already. That's an average of a warning per lap. Jesus Christ. Terziak not exactly got away from Big Sam, but ultimately allowing him to keep Jamie Tarquin at bay, which is exactly what Terziak needs in the grand context of his race. Lots of curb taken by the Aston Martin man, but lots of curb taken in sympathy by Jamie Tarquin, and sensationally through into P10. Really cleverly executed. And a piece of intelligence from the Red Bull driver allows him to scythe through with a switchback at the far chicane to take P10, and Terziak latches onto DRS. It's Jesus Christ. How many cars? Is that 11 cars? DRS train. simply don't get better. Stark leads still, but for how long? Thanassi thinks about a move, and Tyrrell decides to try and catch him even further off guard. As Thanassi settles into the wheel tracks, pure Tyrrell disrupting his rhythm, very much so, but the Alpine man has to wait and bide his time just that little bit more. Wilco, his road to recovery is beginning. Up to P13 he goes, past Magico. As Pathiman looks to be the next man to ascend past the Aston Martin of the big swimmer. Very much at home in wet conditions and darting to the inside goes the Alpine man, whilst a Red Bull of Jamie Tarquin goes through. Doing the double is Pathiman as well to make it synchronised overtaking situations here in Albert Park. Through the Alpine car goes P11 and approaching the outer reaches of the top 10. It's getting tasty. Yellow flag. No! Slam's gone round! No, Slam has gone round. What on earth has happened there? That's disaster. A catastrophe for the Kick Sauber team. Nice poetry. But Slam having such a good week. It's all just unravelled in a heartbeat. The fall is so much quicker than the climb. It notoriously always is. And there's no better depiction than that. Slam down to P14, but he knows he's got pace, and with how close the grid is to one another, there is plenty of time for the road to recovery to get underway. 15 laps to go, and believe it or not, we have a new race leader. Not for long, though. Ferrari on the outside. Read it and weep. There goes the Italian stallion galloping through to take P1 on the road once again in Albert Park. But will he have a double? It does have a double dose of DRS. For some reason, memory served me very much incorrectly. Tyrrell dives down the inside. Very late and brave on the brakes and just gets his whole car ahead as they head through the right-hander. The Alpine ace ascends into P2. But plenty of lockups, not loving life on the tyres. An even bigger lockup, though, from Timalele behind. Of course, the tyre situation, there is some disparity. In fact, quite a lot of disparity. Relatively even split between medium and hard runners, and then only two soft tyre runners, Terziak and Dirkleton. Speaking of Terziak, the Flying Scotsman is already into the pit lane on lap number 6. Going for an audacious undercut strategy onto the hard compound tyres goes the Aston Martin driver. And perhaps there's some strategic play to be done. And Terziak looking to the strategy gods and saying, please favour my race today. I'm going bold. This is the moment I've been waiting for. Now it's Tyrrell who has the chance to ruffle the feathers of the Ferrari driver in first. Stark's had it all under control. Still the only driver with a time penalty, which is not exactly an award he'll want to have next to his name. Tyrrell's dived down the inside previously, but doesn't think about it this time. All about the patient game. You can't afford to be overzealous. One wrong move. We saw what it did to Tyrrell's race in Monza. A lot of good that did. Ultimately panicking towards the grass and then sliding into the side of Thanassi. A 10-second time penalty, quick as a flash. There's another yellow flag in Sector 3. Vulcan's having a torrid time. The Visa Cash App contactless card does not indeed make contact with the barrier. But it's no consolation as Tyrrell and Stark go into combat. Stark's been really displaced. It's Thanassi that manages to get through as well. Tyrrell, for the first time, I think, they've actually tried to make moves in towards turn 1 here in the front 3. And it has managed to shuffle the order a little bit. The Alpine man of Tyrrell makes his way through into P1. Thanassi through to P2. Stark dipping down to P3, albeit possibly briefly, because DRS will be very much at play. And we know what happens next. Jamie Tarquin, meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen. Here he is. We've been waiting for Jamie Tarquin to show himself. And now he certainly is. 6th place for the Red Bull Rampage. He's going to exercise every ounce of pace. Every single grain of electrical energy and Pirelli purchase he can have to make his way up to the 2 ahead. Buck 20 and Tim Alele. Buck 20, of course, has the luxury of being hoisted along by the championship leader. Jamie Tarquin does not have said luxury, but what he does have is bucket loads of pace in return. So we can use that to advantage. Again, a swap for the lead, albeit it is Tyrrell taking P1 off of Thanasi, and it's all systems, it's all as you were, basically. DRS to help defend himself, and again, Stark has a 3-second time penalty. It's the exit of turn number 2, actually, where he's getting caught out, just using too much of the exit to carry the overspeed, and as a result, it's now 6 seconds of time penalties. The only driver to have time penalties in this race, and it will cost him big time. Tim Alele very much inside that margin. Buck 20 inside that margin. Jamie Tarquin on the teetering edge of dropping out of it, but certainly will be inside of it with the pace he has showcased so far. A mistake for Buck 20 it must have been, because he's dropping so much time. Stark and Thanasi go into combat through the chicane. Look at that. Massive slide for Stark behind. Catches it, though, and it is finesse and flair of the highest order. It's not going to result in any ascension up the pecking order, but it is certainly stylish. Lap number 9 of the Australian Grand Prix, and Wilco's road to recovery is getting on very nicely. Up to P9 he goes. Ferrari having a great run of things. Well, at least in the case of Wilco, he's not got a penalty next to his name. Stark has 2 lots of it. Into the pits comes Jamie Tarquin. Sees the opportunity to go for an undercut onto the hard compound tyres. Seems like they're working pretty well at the moment. Tim Alele has wheeled in the cars ahead of him about half a second on the last lap, but then gets a huge slide of oversteer to boot. But still has some good pace on him. Although, bearing in mind, if it does start to rain, there is a murkiness in the air. An ominous atmosphere at Albert Park that could just shake up the pecking order a little bit, should it rain. Still, drivers eager enough to come into the pits, fit on some fresh rubber. Jamie Tarquin at the forefront of cars that have managed to do it so far. Considering an undercut on Buck 20, and went for it, as Wilco has, well, doesn't think twice about taking the position from Big Sam. Up to P7 he goes. It's a rampant recovery from the Ferrari man, and the prancing horse certainly going on strong. No ketamine needs to be administered. The front 3, though, have all pulled the trigger simultaneously. Tim Alele will stay out, but it's going to be hard compound tyres for all of these 3. Very interestingly enough, I'm surprised none of them were, well, perhaps, not brave isn't the right word, but perhaps, or, well, optimistic enough to try a soft tyre gamble, given the DRS train, and given that the cars are slightly lighter. It could have just put a bit more perspective into things as they exit the pit lane. Tyrrell at the front of the queue. They are behind Wilco, Big Sam, and Magico. And depending on how long they stay out for, that could have huge ramifications in the context of their race. Wide again from Stark. That's where he's been racking up the penalties. He is pushing like hell. You cannot fault him for that whatsoever. And another person has joined him in the penalty penthouse. It's Jamie Tarquin. 5 seconds off of the lead trio as they have exited the pit lane. It's a question now of when Buck 20 and Tim Alele pull the pit lane trigger. Through goes my husband, though. He's making moves on other men. You naughty man. But through into P4 he goes, so I'll allow it in this case. A good ascension from him. But now Tyrrell is right on the back of Big Sam. And what does he do? What does he do? He is fundamentally completely boxed in. Would have to think about a dive to the inside of the penultimate corner, but they have it covered every which way, and they're going to be losing every single time. Temps upon temps, and Tyrrell can ill afford to do that. So a DRS to the inside and deploying a healthy amount of electrical energy to boot. Through goes the Alpine man, just about keeping it within track limits. Very, very close quarter stuff here at Albert Park. As Thanasi goes through down the inside on Big Swimmer as well. Stark the next one to try and gobble him up. But although, oh no! Magico, no! Magico's had a spin moment. Although, was his front wing fine? I don't know, I can't tell. Was his front wing fine? his front wing's fine. Yeah, he'll be fine. Good job, Magico. You held up the front three. It's good teamwork from you, my son. Well, that's one less car for Tyrrell and Co to worry about. But they do have to worry about Wilco, Stark's teammate. And Wilco, you can bet he'll defend as hard as he can against the Alpine and the Williams, but resistance might seem futile. Tyrrell will go to the inside as much as he can. Wilco very much squares off the line as much as possible. And Tyrrell slides his way through into P3. The Nassi round the outside. And Wilco with a huge snap of oversteer. As Starker sends up the order as well. It's certainly stylish. It's not exactly providing proper purchaser pace. And Wilco decides that he's very much in agreement. Into the pit lane he goes. For some medium compound tyres, as is big swimmer Jamie Tarquin in P6. Got a purple Sector 3 next to his name. He's driving a good race as the Red Bull man, it must be said. Has never had it go all his way. As for Slam, it's the sinking feeling. A big sinking feeling. As he goes for a trip lawn mowing. And his car camouflaged, so you actually would have had a very eagle eye to figure that one out. But he comes into the pit lane. He's already made a pit stop. It could be day done for the Kick Sauber man. I hope it isn't for his sake. Because one DNF, it will still be a point on the board for the Kick Sauber driver. Timilele, your race leader then, gap to Buck 20 behind, is 5 seconds. And of course, Buck 20 on the medium tyres. So, it will be a medium soft gamble for Buck 20. Very interesting. Thanasi and Stark going as a combat around the outside. Goes the Ferrari. Great racing between all of the top three so far. And so it continues. Donning Sebastian Vettel's car onto the Ferrari. Mein Gott. What a move that was. And now he has Tyrrell very much in his sights. And the fastest lap, 1 minute 18.9 for the Ferrari driver. Might have 11 years worth of penalties next to his name, but he's not giving up without a fight. Absolutely not. Pathyman with the fastest lap though. He's got DRS and crucially for him, fresh medium tyres. Deploying the DRS on Milo. Terziak's undercut, by the way, has put him right on the back of these two. So he's just keeping an eye on proceedings. They make a mistake, he'll be there to snap it up. What a legend he is. The Flying Scotsman in full flow. Hasn't gone his way at all this week, and that's an understatement. But is ultimately doing some good damage limitation here in Australia. Through in the DRS town, though. As Slam's he's going for donuts on the grass. He's going backwards. Oh, no, he's not going backwards. I thought he was going backwards for a second. I was going to say, that's not the way to go round Albert Park. But can take the fastest lap. Can spoil the party for some people. Still, the Mercedes and the McLaren do not... Oh, never mind. Specsavers, give me a call. Timilele into the pit lane. It will be fresh medium tyres. It'll be mad to do anything else. And for Buck 20, if it isn't fresh softs, he will be completely mental. And it is fresh soft tyres. So, there will be acres of pace for the McLaren. But he will emerge behind, I believe, the three cars of Milo, Pathyman, and Terziak. On board with Terziak. There's Buck 20. And switchbacking on the other McLaren. The Aston Martin man having a proper go at it. And could have another go into turn 3, but not to be. Tyrrell takes the lead out of the right-hander. It's all chopping and changing up at the front of the field. Timilele's emerged from the pit lane. He is behind Jamie Tarquin, but will get some DRS assistance to help him on his way. As for Slam, well, any assistance he can get. If he can have a tactical nuclear penguin come along and smite all his opponents, then, well, be my guest. Stark dives down the inside at the chicane. You cannot fault him for trying. And Slam retires from the Grand Prix. And it results in the safety car. Now, that's made things very interesting. Tim, of course, has just pitted for fresh mediums, but Tyrrell and Co now have the chance to go for a free bid onto the soft tyres. And if I were them, I'd take it. I would absolutely take it. What do they dare to do? Do they dare to pit? Yes, they do. Front three come in. Jamie Tarquin comes in. Timilele obviously will stay out. Recently came into the pits. Doesn't see any reason to not well, to don the medium tyres he's only had on for a singular lap. But it is all action in the pit lane, and the man with the biggest open goal of all, I'd say, Buck 20. Oh my god. P3 with the soft compound tyres. It's going to get tasty for this McLaren man, let me tell you. Everywhere else, it's all action. You can hardly separate anyone. Millo's emerged in 8th, Terziak in 9th, Wilco 10th, Big Sam in P11. We're with my husband, who has just got Dirkleton ahead of him for company. And then, when all seemed lost, for Buck 57 and for Vulcan, they're going to catch up to the back of the queue. Who says we're not a charitable organisation? We so are. Get to catch up to the back of the safety car. Life is good. For the Williams and the contactless carbohydrate man. So, pecking order. And I've just got hiccups. This is going to be fun, innit? Timalele is your race leader. On some fresh medium tyres, but bearing in mind, there are a lot of hungry sharks behind. Pathiman in P2, Buck 20 in 3rd, with Tyrrell in 4th, Stark in 5th, and Nassi in 6th, Jamie Tarquin in 7th, Millo in 8th, Terziak 9th, and a Shop in 10th. Big Sam 11th, Dirkleton 12th, Magico 13th, Buck 57 in 14th, and Vulcan rounds out our running order. Slam, the only DNF, retired from the Grand Prix at the very corner that Vulcan's approaching now. Right in that runoff area. The stewards saw fit to call a safety car. When you forget to get your pressure... Oh, no. Did you do minimum pressures? Oh, no. Well, there you are. Confirmation of exactly what on earth happened to Slam. His tyres were the equivalent of Vesuvius. And ultimately more devastating because it ended his race. And before you try and tell me that Vesuvius was more tragic than this, you don't know wheel. That's all I'm saying. You don't know real pain until you've done your pressures wrong on F124. Procession behind the safety car, then I assume it's going to come in at the end of this lap. Then it will only be 4 tours of the Australian Grand Prix track to go. And that will be quite something. In what has already been an excellent evening of racing. The spotlight taken. If your name's beginning with T again, it's a wonderful time. Thanassi was race 1. Timalele was race 2, although Thanassi with a good impetus, actually, to get his penalties removed from his account. And so he definitely could. Safety car will be in at the end of this lap. And it's up to Timalele to dictate the pace as much as he sees fit. Lots of backing up behind. We're on board with the man in P2. Tyrrell's teammate, Monsieur Pathiman. Going for some rear tyre burnout to get any temperature into them that he possibly can. To have any lasting advantage. But when your tyres are 4 laps older, it's very, very difficult to have an advantage. Especially on F124. Buck 57 and Magico swapping positions under the safety car meanwhile. As Big Sam gets a 10-second penalty for a severe collision with his teammate. That's terrible news. As now Timalele pulls the trigger early on in Sector 3, and now everyone else playing catch-up. Pathiman hasn't got any kind of pace on Timalele in P1, but someone who definitely does. Fresh soft tyres on his wagon, and a slide for Pathiman. Contact made, and it's an open goal for Tyrrell. Thanassi's now got a 10-second penalty for a severe collision, quote-unquote. I don't know. What a joke. Out of the first 2 corners, Pathiman's already gifted Timalele a 1.6-second lead. And Tyrrell and co need to get up the road as Tim builds a breathable margin, at least for the time being. Buck 20 makes a mistake, and Tyrrell's through down the inside. Alpina 2 and 3 in this contest. 2.2 seconds the gap. Pathiman gets dutifully out of the way of his teammate. Nicely done from the Endstone outfit. And now Tyrrell can set his sights in front. to get a win for the board, on the board for the Alpine team, to get a win on the board for himself this week. Thanasi race 1, Timalele race 2, Tyrrell race 3, only time will tell. Stark's got past, Buck 20, and now also past, and Thanasi just dives down the inside, but Pathiman sent spinning. Hopefully no one makes contact with him. Oh my god, what a freaking dodge from Big Sam. That almost got very grisly indeed. Everyone's managed to avoid the stricken Alpine car, but I can only assume there was huge contact, but ultimately Pathiman is facing the right way, but it is emotional damage. DRS has been enabled. Oh, yes, it has. And Tyrrell can go have a job to do. Only 3 tours of the Australian Grand Prix track to go. Only 3 tours left to try and catch and overtake. One Timalele in P1, but even on soft tyres, Tyrrell losing time through the corners of Sector 1. Timalele already with all the gap he needs. Tyrrell try as he might to get the tyres to bite into the bitumen. It's not working out for him. And for Timalele, it could be double trouble for the rest of the grid. So the McLaren swap positions. Milo through, Terziak through as well. On Buck 20. For the Aston Martin man, it's now finally coming together. To the inside of the sharp right-hander. A jig from the McLaren of Milo. But a dive down the inside from Terziak to assert his dominance once and for all. Great racing, especially from the Flying Scotsman. But a snap of oversteer on the exit. I spoke too soon. And now it's Milo's turn to deal the pain and the punishment. With DRS, it's easy as you like. The battle for P6 will be a big one as we enter onto the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. The penultimate lap of this evening, in fact. Timalele with a 2.5 second gap cushion. They've only caught a 10th up to him. I don't want to tempt fate too early, but I think he might have done it. Speaking of someone who's done himself, Vulcan. No front wing damage though, so life is good if you think about it that way. Back to the action, up at the front then. Timalele, comfortable. Tyrrell, less so. Very much less so. DRS open. And Ferrari looking to continue their ferocity as round the outside of the chicane. Contact! Massive contact! And Tyrrell goes round into the infield. Thanasi goes through. Jamie Tarquin goes through. Tyrrell stranded. It's a second Alpine. Stranded in the middle. I know we said teammate solidarity, but not like this. Tyrrell will feel hard done by. Massive contact with the Ferrari. Threw him completely off balance and spat him out into the grass. And what looked so promising has been pummeled down into pessimism. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's a battle for P2. No one's catching Timalele. Last lap of the Grand Prix. And based on penalty timings, Jamie Tarquin's going to take home P2. And that will be meteoric from him. Although Thanasi is another good case probably to get rid of the 10 seconds come the end of this event. Buck 57 meanwhile making moves down the inside of Dirkleton. Lovely job from him. Magico also keeping a watchful eye on proceedings. He's up to P12 now, courtesy of the Alpines bottling it and also not bottling it, because I don't think it was their fault. But one man hasn't put a foot wrong today. Has not even broken a sweat since the restart. Made the gamble to start on the harder compound. Went on the medium. Safety car came out. Threw a spanner in the works. But those who threw the soft tyres on couldn't surge up to the back of this man, who deployed his pace with delight and discipline. And the Mercedes man is going to make it 2 for 2 for the Brackley outfit through the final corner to send everyone's worlds into a spin. Twice as nice for Timalele, who wins the Australian Grand Prix. Thanasi on the road will claim P2. Stark behind in P3. Jamie Tarquin, though, will take P2. And Terziak, when all is said and done, takes P3 by just over a 10th of a second. what looked to be a weekend of damage limitation again in Australia has ended with an outstanding outcome. Milo P5, McLaren 5th and 6th, Thanasi P7 when penalties are applied. Magico takes P8. That is what keeping your nose clean can get you, ladies and gentlemen. Pathyman's left the session. I can't say I blame him because I don't. Buck 57, the last across the line. And I can be at peace. Woo! Driver of the day, according to the game, lies with Jamie Tarquin. But the man in control, the man where the game tried to turn things topsy-turvy, said, no, you don't. You don't write my scripts. I am the author of this story. And so he carved out his own fairy tale. And again, it's the top step of the podium. Timalele, 2 for 2. In this triple threat scenario, twice is very nice indeed. Says, yeah, I got enough of those, mate. Cheers. Thanks, guys. Yep. Excellent. And again, the spraying of the 7-Up free. Check it out. Maybe that's what medium graphics can get you. They just had to shake glass bottles beforehand. I've given them permission to actually kickstart their own celebrations. Terziak, a podium familiar. Haven't seen him there too recently, but here he is today at the last race of this evening. And Jamie Tarquin has been a stratospheric while since we saw him on the podium. But what a play. What a day of racing. You simply don't get better. You don't get better. Try telling me otherwise. Who was podium? I just missed it. Timalele was P1. Jamie Tarquin was P2. Terziak was P3. Although on the road, it was technically Timalele, Thanasi, and Stark. But there were quite a lot of penalties to be had. So there you go. I've got a big swimmer clip to watch, ladies and gentlemen. Whilst we are all here. Here we go. Big swimmer. Wilco's just had a bit of a moment. Out of the first chicane, into the Curva Grande we go, with the Aston Martin Assassin. Firmly hunkered into the slipstream. Can't make a move there. Looks to the inside anyway. I can't fault him for trying his luck. Switch back out of La Roja. Shows the nose to the inside, but no avenue opens up once again for the Aston Martin man. Ultimately, though, it's a cacophony of crashing. He slows down enough and ultimately survives. That's all you really need to know. He did actually survive. And everyone was well as a result. Woo. Also has another clip. Big Sam with another clip, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to witness poetry. Lap number 5 of the Italian Grand Prix. As you can see, heading towards the Ascari chicane. Some time left on the table, but you can't deny he's got some good pace. And some good car control to boot. Make no mistake about that. Slipstream on Pathyman then. It will be DRS deployment stations for the Aston Martin man. As Wilco goes wide and he avoids the spin. Does have to compromise his momentum a little bit to do so, but yeah. On the marbles, asked too much of the rear of the car. Bit too much speed, and yeah. Is what it is. Ultimately, though, a great recovery drive from Wilco, which we should talk about for ages to come. Wilco says also, wish I could race more. I hope we can see you around more for racing. Hopefully, your next one is very, very soon, Indy. Big Sam, you're spoiling me for clips, my friend. Jesus. What more do I do? Oh, no, it's the stricken Maximus. What on earth do you do? Pathyman on the back of the kick but there's a carbon fibre confetti as he rams his diffuser. That's not legal, but in F124, it certainly is. Vulcan then dives to the inside of Big Swimmer, but Maximus's AI defends it. So round the outside goes Big Sam. Thank you very much, Maximus's AI. He'll happily take that one. And the British Racing Green boss man takes home a wonderful P7. Fantastic stuff. Right. Now I can actually try and summarise it for you all. So, to sum up proceedings, Monaco was Formula 2 cars, and Thanasi monstered it. He trounced absolutely everyone. There's no other way of putting it. Like, honestly, the municipality of Monaco was not big enough to dictate exactly what kind of a gap. F124 is getting me to choose my favourite constructor. I don't know. I don't really care. Ferrari, I guess. There you go. Who's my favourite? Hamilton. There you go. Sure. There you go. I don't know why you're getting me to choose again. I chose last season, and I think I chose Alonso and V-Carb for the banter, because it would be great to see Alonso in a V-Carb. That's a nice video idea. I'm going to put Alonso in a V-Carb. Right, cool. I don't care about the fan zone. Go away. No one cares about that. Right, cool. Fan zone championship. Mid. Literally don't care. Why? V-Carb are winning. I should have chosen V-Carb. I knew it. I told you. There was something about V-Carb. Right, get out of my face, F124. I need to summarise this day. Right. Monaco, like I say, Thanasi trounced it. The municipality of Monaco was not big enough to dictate and depict and visualise what kind of a gap he had whatsoever. It was monstrous. Absolutely gargantuan. He drove an incredible race in a wet-to-dry Monaco. Was so close to a Grand Slam, but not to be. The ever-consistent Tim Malele was P2. And in P3 was Pathyman. I remember. It was Pathyman. Got so close to a podium in Baku last week. This week, no mistake at all, though. Drove a faultless race and claimed a good P3 for Alpine. Exactly, doorbell. What a race it was. Over in Monza, I can't even begin to start with Monza. Watch it again. Watch it, read it and weep, drink it in. It was complete and utter carnage from start to finish. That's all you really need to know. Penalties galore, mistakes galore. It wasn't even a wet race. Just so many DRS trains and slipstream snakes to be had, which ultimately ended up with someone getting spat out. The recoiling and striking could only be so clean for so long. Tim Malele got pushed into the gravel by Milo completely at La Roja. Tyrrell misjudged his braking point, went sliding across the grass. Lucky that he didn't take himself and Thanasi completely out of the race. Ultimately, loads of penalties for those two. So while they did finish in the top three, it was Tim Malele who won it when penalties were applied. Although there's a good case, particularly in Thanasi's world, to get those penalties removed. But we shall see. You never know. In the end, it was Tim Malele, Milo, and then, in third place, Slam took it home for V-Carb. Not for V-Carb, my apologies. Slam took it home for Kick Sauber. Can't get used to the bad acronyms. It's either Kick Sauber or Visa Cash App Contactless Carbohydrates Glucose Racing Balls. What fun. And then finally we had Australia. Again, chaotic and beautiful in its own right. It was 3 out of 3 pole positions for Thanasi, by the way, today. Wasn't 3 out of 3 race wins, though. Ultimately, again, penalties being applied with severe collisions under safety car. Again, those will probably get removed. But on the road, and this time there was no disputing it at all, Tim Malele ran riot. Made the call. It wasn't even a bold call. It was just an alternate strategy. Safety car came out, stuck with the medium tyres. It was the right way to go. Hardly any pace differential. And Timbo took home 2 wins on the trot, making it 2 out of 3 for this week. And again, another lucrative week if your name begins with the letter T. Some unsung heroes from today. Stark, incredible pace. Well done him. Wilco, good to see him racing again. Magico got P8, thanks to all the penalties that were applied at the end of the last race. So well done to him. Slam for the podium in Monza. And then so many more besides. But ultimately, it's a credit to all the drivers in this league for doing an absolutely delightful job from start to finish. What a week of Blackout racing. You always think it couldn't get better, but it's Blackout. Of course it can get better. And I'm going to go now and rest my voice. Holy moly. I'm enthralled and thrilled that I managed to get through this in one piece. And I've drank loads of water. I've actually saved my voice really well, which is good news. So, fingers crossed, the effects are not too bad. I've got a music concert to do at work tomorrow, and I'm singing in some of it. So if my voice is a mess, I don't blame this at all. Because, well, Maybe some of the racing, because you lot did try to kill me. But ultimately, all good fun nonetheless. And that's what I'm here for. Just fun and games. Thank you all so much for watching. Another week at the Blackout Bonanza. The triple threat is done. And when all is said and done, it's another beautiful week of Blackout League racing. Next week, guess where we're heading? I don't know. So here's where we're heading. Spain, and of course, because it's the Las Vegas Grand Prix this weekend, we are heading over to Las Vegas. And if you thought the DRS overtakes and slipstream chains were bad in Monza, well, in the Las Vegas Strip, it's a whole different kettle of fish, my friend. You are not ready. It's a game of Russian roulette. Rather the irony, really. But keep your cards close to your chest, because you never know what could happen. If you did enjoy, consider giving this Twitch channel a follow. Also, consider subscribing if you're watching this on a YouTube, on an internet. I upload on a channel called KarlsCars. Subscribe on a playlist called Commentary. You'll find all of the Blackout races I have ever done. Kudos to all the drivers tonight. You drove absolutely brilliantly. Almost killed me, but it was divinity in motion all the way through. So well done to all of you. A big, big thank you to Blackout for allowing me to commentate, as always. I wouldn't miss it for the world. There's nothing I'd rather be doing with my Monday evenings, and that will never change. I have a whole lot of gratitude for everything these guys have given me. They're the main reason I do what I do today. They are the reason, actually, I do what I do today. It wouldn't be possible without them. So, Blackout remains undefeated. I love every single one of you. Thank you so much for everything. And thank you for allowing me to be your commentator. I'm going to go and have a lie down and drink copious amounts of H2O. Once again, a huge thank you to all of you for watching. Have a lovely rest of your evening. Next week, it is Spain and Vegas. Enjoy the Grand Prix weekend. I know I certainly will. Ultimately, I think Max Verstappen is probably going to be a 4-time world champion. And well-deserved at that. Of course, sorry, I forgot to mention, follow Magico, my husband, RD Magico. He made all these graphics. He's an absolute bloody legend. I love him to bits. And J-Lane's got some old Blackout stuff on YouTube. JLan3, subscribe to his channel. Watch all the Blackout stuff. The production values are just incredibly, insanely high. It's just absolutely brilliant. I ran out of superlatives for it. Almost as many superlatives I'm running out for this racing. But you have to wait for next week for the next one. Monday at 8 p.m. You don't want to miss it. Spain and Las Vegas. Tonight, Thanasi and Timalele ran riot. But there could be another one to forge their fairy tale in the next two. Once again, I've been Karl Paranik. Thank you for watching the Blackout Racing League. Have a great rest of your night, or whatever time it is. And goodbye.